Hi, I'm Randy Reed, editor of the Edison Report, and I'm here at Easy Studios, a beautiful studio in the garment district of New York City. All of us were impacted by the global pandemic, especially those in New York City. But because of all of us working together, there are brighter days ahead. I'm here with John Broxmeyer, New York Regional VP at Cooper Electric, a division of Sonopar US, a full-service electrical distributor that has serviced the New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania markets for over 60 years. Also with me is Jonathan Lubeck, VP of Trade Sales at Ledvance. Ledvance is the maker of Sylvania general lighting in the US and Canada, and the company has recently launched its Brighter Days Ahead campaign to celebrate the light at the end of the tunnel. Gentlemen, thanks for chatting with me today.
Thank you, Randy.
And John, the first question goes to you. What was it like for Cooper Electric here in New York City during the pandemic, and how did you adjust?
Well, the uncertainty of the virus and how it spread had everybody uneasy. Public transportation in New York, all of our employees come back and forth via the trains and automobiles, so there was a lot of concern of getting back and forth. So in March of 2020, we decided that we would let people start working from home. It progressed well. We've done well with that, but there's challenges with that as well, just like there is with everything. Job site access, visiting customers, etc., became an issue. With the vertical transportation here in New York, it's not the easiest thing getting to job sites or on job sites. And how did we adjust? Our executive team, along with the executive team from Sonopar, put together a compliant safety plan to get back to work and get the employees there, our essential employees in our warehouses and our branches, develop some new apps within the Cooper app that allowed customers to actually put in their orders via an application, show up at the branch, and it would alert the branch manager to bring the stuff outside, so we didn't have as much contact with the individuals indoors. And as far as our deliveries, we installed a tracking system onto all of our trucks to also alert the customer when we were at the job site. Again, the vertical transportation in New York and bringing the people to and up and down that were on the job sites. A lot of the freight elevators were doing that and limiting how many people could get on it at what time. So there were a lot of challenges, and we found ways to make it work and support a lot of the essential businesses such as hospitals, pop-up hospitals, etc.
So with the app, the user would get a notification that the delivery is about to occur. And then they could meet the truck.
And they could track where it's at and say, it's 10 minutes away, let me get on the freight elevator now, because the freight elevator, again, is bringing up other trades as well as people at the time because of that. And there were a lot of restrictions on the job site. So we tried to make it as easy as we could for our customers to get their material where they wanted, when they wanted.
Got it. Jonathan, how did Ledvance do during the pandemic, and what adjustments did you guys make?
Wow, as John indicated, 2020 was like no other. And we were no different than any other company out there. We had our employees have to all go home, work from home, which was certainly a new venture. We had to get sharper. We had to refine our skills on Teams, on Zoom. We had to get used to knowing when we were talking and our colleagues were telling us we're muted, right? So there's a lot to that. But ultimately, from the sales side, we had to reconnect with our customers and to do everything we could to provide the level of service that was needed to avoid disruption. And I believe and am very proud of the Ledvance team for all that they've done during this time and all that they sacrificed. Last year in 2020, we launched over 1,400 new SKUs.
Wow.
We retooled a lot of our business practices to be easier to do business with. We launched our hybrid rep agency model to augment our factory direct sales team.
So what's that mean?
We added agents in all the major markets in addition to our factory direct team to help call on branches and help assist our sales team drive more action at the branch level.
Are you guys back in the office now? Are you doing a hybrid as far as people coming into the office and working from home?
We're still transitioning like most of the country. Folks are coming in a couple days a week where possible. but I think that it will be fall before we fully come back.
Agreed. I think we're following that same path. Most of our associates are on a hybrid model, work 3 days in the office, 2 days from home, A/B days, and doing whatever we can to keep them as comfortable as we can without overcrowding our spaces.
Do you find some people don't want to come back to the office?
Oh, of course. You know, who wouldn't want to work in their pajamas?
Okay.
But I do think that most of our employees actually are asking to come back. You know, this collaboration and coordination and the culture that we've built throughout the years.
So you're doing a 3-2 model now. Do you envision going back to the 5-day model?
I do, but I think there'll be a lot more tolerance for the times when somebody does ask, can I work from home? I have a student who has to get to certain things, doctor's appointments, et cetera, and can I finish that day at home, as opposed to in the past where we were like, no, take
So
it
see,
back.
that is one of the good things that came out of the pandemic, right? We're all more civil to our employees, allowing them to have lives. Whereas before, I think it was kind of that 8 to 5 grind and you're expected to be there, and good luck on the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of which, John, you have a few family members that were first responders. What was that like during the pandemic, especially the early part of the pandemic?
Well, my wife works for a radiology group, and my son worked as a medical scribe for a local hospital. So it was a little unnerving, to say the least. And the beginning of the pandemic, they were on site and scribing for the doctors. And after a few months, they allowed them, as long as they had secured lines at home, to do it virtually. But when it was going on, they would have to come home with, you know, nobody knew how it spread. Everyone thought if you touched the surface, that was it, you had it, right? So they would come home in the mudroom and change out and put their clothes directly into the washing machine and jump up to the shower before they could even sit down for dinner. So it was unnerving, to say the least, but they both got through it unharmed, thank God. And we have this vaccine now, which is very exciting.
Well, and I just heard there's going to be a ticker tape parade in New York City for first responders. I think that's a great idea.
I do too. I think that to recognize the people that really stepped up, and you know, there's a lot of people outside of just our first responders who really stepped up for all of this as well, you know, who should be recognized. I mean, simple things like truckers. Right. You know, we look at our truckers who have access to people and job sites every day, and they were really in danger when it first started. And our warehouse workers who, you know, work together all day, every day to keep the hospitals and the medical facilities supplied. You know, these things went down. These pop-up COVID centers that were out there all had to be built.
Right.
So,
but you were considered an essential business,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes, we were considered essential throughout the entire process. Again, how else are you going to keep a hospital running?
Sure.
You know, so if something electrical goes down, they need a breaker, they got to find somewhere to get it.
So, Jonathan, how are things looking now as businesses are beginning to open up?
It's a great question. Since the fall, our CEO and Managing Director, Broxmeyer, and I have been on the road, traveling all over this country, visiting our customers. I would say overall, there's a lot of optimism out there. I've traveled over 30,000 miles, air traveled in the last 3.5 months, and we've met our customers however we can, and our employees and our sales team. We've met in parks, we've met in parking lots, we've met in lobbies, we've met wherever we can really go out and see our customers, see our employees, because after all, it's a relationship, face-to-face business.
So if you were doing this 3 months ago, you were one of the early ones on the airplanes.
We were, yep.
And customers were happy to see you?
I would say overall, there was optimism to meet. But there was also apprehension of how that was going to happen. Even today, it's not as easy as just dropping by anymore. The electrical industry is adapting to that. Sure. There's a little bit more organization in it. You kind of want to find out the mask policy, if they're comfortable with that. Recently, I've been asked in 2 occasions to show my vaccine card or a test result, a negative test result in the last 72 hours. So there's a lot more to the new norm as we go forward.
Finding out who's comfortable with what, right? I mean, and feeling out that client, that vendor, and deciding, you know, what makes them comfortable.
Sure,
because
and each one's different.
Yeah.
And it's 2 ways, John, because
Absolutely.
At some points you get confronted with the hand coming out at first to shake, and obviously you want to do that, or you try to do the fist bump or the hug. So it goes on both ends. I think it's just that comfort level, which is easing up more and more.
Sure. So, Jonathan mentioned 1,400 new SKUs launched last year and early this year. What investments have you guys made during the pandemic?
So luckily for us, Sonepar has continued to invest in our region, and inclusive of a 750,000 square foot facility in Cranberry, New Jersey, that is state-of-the-art, automated, pick-to-person packing system that allows us to increase our lines per evening, our accuracy. I encourage anybody that hasn't seen it to come out and see it, and I think you'll be amazed.
I want to see it. Okay, I want to see
You
it.
have an open invitation.
Okay, thank you. So Leadvance has launched their Brighter Days Ahead campaign, and I just love that. And this campaign allows the audience to win up to $1,000 for sharing what they're looking forward to in Brighter Days Ahead. I want to ask you, what are you looking forward to?
So of course the simple things, right? It seems like the easy answer, but it's the honest answer. Seeing friends, being with family, having gatherings, hugging.
Right.
The simple person-to-person contact that we all miss so greatly. John said the fist bumping and all the other things, and the elbow pumping that we've been doing. I'd like to see less of that and more of the real personal contact. In addition, we've always believed strongly in giving back.
Right.
For example, I sit on a board with the AHRC, and they help the mentally and physically challenged people to have homes and be independent for themselves. And doing these charity events by Zoom is wonderful, and it's allowed us to be charitable towards it. But having the person-to-person outings and the dinners and the golf outings and the like is really much more fruitful and better for them. I'm also impressed that Leadvance also follows this same mentality. They've taken on the mental health month and all the time, and we all know that not everybody has brighter days all the time, and there are challenges in the world, and they've adapted to that and adopted that as their charity of choice. And I think that it's a strong thing to do, and there are brighter days ahead, but when there's not, we all need to know that there are people that we can lean on and help us.
Very well said. And Leadvance is not afraid to talk about mental health.
No.
A lot of companies are. So hats off to Leadvance for doing that.
Here.
And let me just ask you, Jonathan, what are you looking forward to with Brighter Days Ahead?
I agree with everything that John said wholeheartedly. I think it's the simple things, the little things that we took for granted, that are most important, to go along with being at your children's soccer game, sitting on the bleachers, being able to interact with folks, to be able to maybe go out to dinner spontaneously without trying to figure out takeout. I think it's your neighbors, being able to talk to your neighbors in a fashion that you don't make them feel uncomfortable talking to them and worrying about your social distancing space. And I say this kind of half-heartedly, but it's true. The occasional sneeze because of pollen in the air, or all of a sudden you sneeze in the air and everybody kind of gets a little nervous. It's a little uncomfortable.
They're looking at you harshly.
Looking forward to sneezing again in public.
That's great.
If I may, in addition, one of the things that I think we spoke about earlier is the back-to-work policies as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing the people who I spent, so many hours in time with, building cultures and collaboration and coordination, and just having that group back together and working together collaboratively, I think is.
And that's why I'm personally looking forward to Light Fair, which will be held in this city in October,
Yep.
the first major lighting event of our industry, and I can't wait to see my friends again as well.
Agreed.
So John, how do you see things in New York City looking up as people are getting back to work?
Well, having seen it go from a ghost town to where it is today is very encouraging and proof positive that there are brighter days ahead. Speaking with some of the professionals out there, the lighting designers, architects, engineers, they've informed us that new construction, out of the ground, residential towers are going to come to a screeching halt, or at least somewhere about that. But the commercial renovation and large commercial renovation, which they consider 25,000 square feet or more, is actually up 16%, the permits requests for that are up 16% compared to the 2019 numbers.
Okay.
That's very encouraging, you know, and as they come back, they're retrofitting out a lot of offices. And light plays a very important part of productivity, how people feel, their comfort levels, and you know, advanced true wave technology really plays a big part in that. Making people feel as though they're under the right light increases their productivity, gives them a good feeling when they're at work, and their energy levels really come up. So I'm excited about what's ahead, and there truly are brighter days.
Well, I've been here a few times during the pandemic, and I haven't, every time the traffic is worse. And now it's almost just as bad as it was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, we went from stores being boarded up to now, you know, restaurants are open. I mean,
Right.
you want to talk about people who suffered. Some of these restaurateurs have really had a challenge on their hands. You know, you're in, you're out, you're 3/4, you're a quarter, you're nothing. You can build on the street. If you tried to put one of those outdoor restaurants on the streets 2 years ago, the city would have ripped it down the next day.
Right.
So it's a different world, and we need to adjust. And I'm glad to see that they're coming back as well.
Gentlemen, thank you for chatting with me today and for bringing light to the world. For everyone watching, we invite you to go to the website on your screen to share what you are looking forward to in brighter days ahead for a chance to win $1,000 and a selection of Sylvania General Lighting products to make your days and nights brighter. Thanks for watching, and here's to brighter days ahead for us all.
Here,
Thank you,
here.
Randy.
Thank you again, Randy. We appreciate it.